And I said something that day out loud to her that I had felt in my heart for a long time. And I admitted to her that I had a fear of going deeper with that and of just really letting go of control and leading out in a greater way because I was afraid of where it might take me. Hi, friend. I'm Susan Beth, and you are listening to the She Is podcast, where we talk about living life intentionally and about trusting that the desires you have deep within you are there for a reason. I believe that the creator of the universe put those desires within you and that they are pathways to your purpose. My desire is that this would be a space that encourages you to lean in and to hear the whispers of the divine, and that you would be reminded of things that I honestly believe you already know. That you, my friend, are here for a reason. So if you're here for more conversations in that kind of space, welcome. Let's go. My heart and mind has been going deeper into the thought from the weekly autumn journal focus of layers and leaves. More specifically, I've been looking at what it means to trust God with our seasons or a particular layer of our life. And I can see how much I've grown over the years in this area that was often a huge struggle for me. And don't get me wrong, I can definitely still have my moments, but for the most part, I have developed a deep trust that God is holding my days and seasons in His hands and working all things for my good. So when I was thinking about the layers of life and what that means, for me personally, this focus, it took me past thinking about the word layer just simply being exchanged for the word season. And in one of the recent episodes, and maybe even the last one, I talked about how each layer in my life, I saw how it was inviting me into another level of living and of creativity, basically an invitation to being who I was created to be. And I shared how, looking back, I could see that each season, it pulled out or it gave me the opportunity to another aspect of myself or going deeper into an aspect of how God made me. So it got me thinking about all of us trusting God with our seasons. And, that's something that I would say more confidently in the last decade that I'm able to do that to a much greater degree. And the more that I thought about this, things started coming to my mind. And one thing was actually something that happened pretty recently. I was attempting to organize my art room, and I picked up a stack of canvas boards. So these are not, large canvas pieces, which I have several of those sitting around as well. But these are they're boards, so they're sturdy, but they're a lot thinner. But they're called canvas boards. So I picked up a stack of canvas boards, and when I say a stack, I'm meaning there's 10 to 15 boards in this stack. And I have more than one stack sitting around in the art room. And it had been a while since I had actually viewed these different pieces. So as I was kind of just quickly moving through them, I started feeling such strong emotion as I moved through each piece. And I don't even know how to articulate it or to fully explain it, because honestly, it was something that I didn't even fully understand. And I actually took some time to grab my journal and to write it down because I knew that it was something that I needed to process and to look at. And one of the things that I wrote down in my journal that day after that experience was I felt the urge to look away. I couldn't, or I didn't want to take in the strong emotion that was rising up in me, that I was experiencing as I was moving through these art pieces. And just so you know, this isn't the first time that I've had this happen. There is a reason that there are stacks of unseen art in my studio. So why is that? And I wrote that word why with several question marks and underlined it. Why? Why were these emotions, these strong emotions rising up in me? So as the days passed and I was just continuing to pray and to process, I remembered how maybe 15 or 20 years ago, I'm not sure how long ago it was now, but I had this same kind of experience in another area of my life. And I can remember sitting in a coffee shop with someone and her talking to me about me singing and leading worship, which I'd done most of my life in different areas and in different ways. And I said something that day out loud to her that I had felt in my heart for a long time. And I admitted to her that I had a fear of going deeper with that and of just really letting go of control and leading out in a greater way because I was afraid of where it might take me, that I physically could feel myself holding back. Now, I want to clarify a little bit because I know that many of you listening, you come from different faith backgrounds and words can mean different things to each of us. And I used the word worship right there in the context of music and singing because that's what it meant in the conversation that I just shared about. But I understand and I fully believe and embrace the fact that worship means so much more than music and a song, which I think was and is the answer to the question of why that I wrote out in my journal that day. We were designed and created to worship God with all that we are. Every cell in our body, it yearns to express and image the one that created and formed and breathed life into our being. We were made to worship. You were made to worship. And that worship is not talking about a song, but it's talking about your life. Your life is the song that is longing to be sung. So what was causing this emotion and urge that I was feeling that day, that was that urge to look away? I think it was fear of fully expressing who God made me to be, fear of judgment around that expression, fear around letting go of me trying to control how that expression is received, fear that I'm too much because I feel too much to myself a lot of times. So I felt kind of called out by my Creator on saying that I trust Him with my seasons and the layers of my life. When the seasons, they are made up of layers of calling and invitations to go deeper that don't come with a detailed roadmap. They come with the simple and the profound and life-changing invitation of follow me. Another thing that came to my mind was a conversation with a friend when I first started dating and first met my husband, Ron. When I got back to the dorm that fall night in 1986, and I told my roommates and my friends that I had just met the guy that I was going to marry, they believed me. They believed me because they had seen me hang out with many other guys and never had I even had that thought. And I'm pretty sure they could see it in my eyes and they could hear it in my voice. And there's a longer story to tell around us actually seeing each other for the first time and our first interaction. But I'll just stop and say that I had no doubt in my mind that I had met who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And the next few weeks, they were just like this blur. They were filled with nonstop hanging out. And it was just obvious that he felt the same way about me. But we weren't having any major conversations around us being a thing. And I can remember walking along the sidewalk of the campus with one of my best friends. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do remember what she said. So I'm guessing that I was saying something about wanting something to be said between Ron and I about where things were going. And my friend, she stopped and she said to me, Susan, enjoy this time. You will never be in this stage again. So have fun and don't try and figure everything out. Just enjoy where you're at in this moment. Basically, she was saying, just trust and enjoy the process. And I laughed and I admitted how hard that was, but I knew she was right. It was a beautiful moment and season, and my overthinking and wanting to control the timing and all the outcomes of how I thought things should look or the way they should happen, it would make me miss the beauty of all that the moment was offering me. So I am throwing these questions back out to you today. Do you trust God? Not only an overall trusting with your seasons, but are you trusting Him with all that He has deposited in you? You know, maybe it's gifts and fruits that you haven't even seen yet because you haven't allowed room for the growth. You're comfortable with the way that your tree looks, and you are holding on to the leaves that are ready and the leaves that were made and designed to fall away so that new growth can come forth, beautiful new growth that only comes from us opening up our hearts and our hands and us letting go to receive. And I get it, letting go can be scary because we don't usually see the new growth immediately. But that doesn't mean that there's not good in the scary and in the hard. So let's not waste our moments in fear and trying to hold on to something and trying to figure it all out. God's ways are not our ways, and that's a good thing. And it's something that we can place our hope and our trust in. I love you guys and just want to leave you with He is for you. I love reminding you of that because it's true and I never want you to forget it. Love you guys and we will talk soon.
Hey you, thanks for listening. And if you would like to connect more, head over to SusanBeth.com and sign up, and you will be one of the first to find out about anything new. Plus, there's a special free download available just to say thanks. If something in this episode did speak to you, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend that you think it might resonate with as well? And until next time, keep showing up in the world just as God purposed you to do, because you being you is exactly what we all need.
A production of Amplify Life Media.